Good morning, practitioners. If you can hear my voice, can I see your thumbs up? Okay, I now see the thumbs up. So it means you can hear my voice. Those who are raising hands, we are not taking hands now. We will deal with the hands after the presentation. Good morning, practitioners and stakeholders. My name is Naledi Mphahlele. I come from the marketing and communications, responsible for bringing you different topics every month in the webinar to ensure that we educate and bring awareness on various topics from private and public sector and issues related to PPRA, especially with the new legislation. Welcome to today's webinar. Our topic today is invoicing, payments, and collection, as well as fundamentals of FICA compliance. And we know that in the legislation, colleagues, especially with property practitioners, if I draw your attention to Section 47, that we are required to renew our Fidelity Fund Certificate, what we call FFC, every 3 years, in that prescribed time. And I think this is why we're bringing, one of our speakers today to especially explain that payment process to ensure that we don't delay on the FFCs. So, colleagues, in today's discussion, we want to cover, collection. You've been getting letters of demand, and maybe some of you've received statements, or maybe you got an amount that you want to dispute that maybe it's not correct. And I think today's session is just to bring clarity and explain, what is it, so that when you get that from debt recovery unit, you don't really panic, and how can you reach us so that we can help you in communicating, so we make sure that you pay the right amounts and on time, and what are those processes for, and what are you paying for. So the importance especially of accuracy and timelines, especially when it comes to finance. And another speaker that we have today, we're going to look at just the overview of FICA, its objectives, the compliance, or thereof, and especially the steps and fundamentals to helping you, making sure that you're effective as you run your business on a daily basis as a principal, or as, another category as a subsector, because we know now that we're also regulating other subsectors, your managing agents, your developers, timeshare, homeowners association, And, the session today, it's a friendly discussion. We want to engage with you. We want you to equip yourself with the knowledge and tools needed, to ensure that you remain compliant. And we encourage you to engage with our speakers after they're done with the presentations, ask questions, and, this is just an opportunity so that we get awareness and education on financial management processes and compliance requirements so that we can safeguard our businesses. We make sure that we do things on time. And, today's speakers, one of the first is coming from PPRA. His name is Morendeni Machaya. He recently joined the PPRA as a manager in debtors and recoveries department. It's a new department that we have on the structure here at PPRA. So Morendeni is a fully qualified chartered accountant, and he served his training articles at the Auditor General South Africa. We know them as AG. He was also an assistant audit manager before he joined the PPRA. Then we have our second speaker who's going to join us after Morendeni has spoken. Her name is Kayleen Edwards. She's a dedicated professional with a BCom law degree and AMLC practitioner in South Africa. She has experience in real estate sector, where she discovered her zeal in compliance, particularly compliance with the Financial Intelligence Center Act. That's your FICA. She is a member of the Compliance Institute of South Africa, and her expertise in FICA compliance within the legal fraternity It's impeccable. Kelly is a member of Moonstone Compliance, where she serves as an AML compliance consultant, providing governance structures within knowledge and tools to effectively fulfill specific AML requirements. And I think she will explain, I think the AML is anti-money laundering, but she's going to go through that and explain exactly what she does, how she does it, and how her presentation is going to benefit all of us. So maybe before we begin, colleagues, please take note of few housekeeping rules to ensure that the session is smooth today. Your microphones are muted. They are muted because we want to avoid background noise. Please use the chat box to post your questions or comments to our speakers, and we will address some of the questions after they've done their presentations. Even if you raise a hand now, you will be recognized after the presentations. And if you want to speak, please use the raise your hand feature at the top there on Teams, and we will take the hands according to the numbers that it gives you on the screen after the presentations. The cameras, we've switched all the cameras off because we want to improve bandwidth. And we encourage that you participate, you feel free, you share the knowledge that you have. You can even add, if you want to add, something that can benefit both the PPRA and Moonstone. And I think let's engage. The time that we have today for the webinar is 2 hours, 10 to 12. But we will give our speaker, enough time to go through, because I think it's important that we grasp the content. We're going to record the session, and we're going to share the slides after the webinar. So our recordings, we're going to put them at the PPRA TV on YouTube. While you are listening, can I ask that you subscribe to our social media handles? You'll see the screen that we've shared there. Those are the handles on Facebook, on YouTube, and other social media platforms. And colleagues, if you're having issues technicality-wise, can I ask that you log out and you log in again? It could be that you need a refresher from your side, and hopefully your volume is up so that you can hear our speakers as they go through the presentation. I'm not going to waste time. Let's begin with why you are here. I'm going to start with our first speaker. Murendeni, are you ready on your side? If you can put your presentation on slide mode, if you can unmute yourself and you take us through the finance data side of invoicing, payments, and collection. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Naledi. I think you have introduced me properly, and I think on my side, maybe the other thing that I would like maybe the practitioner to take note of is I am Rendin Machaya, and I am the one leading the data and recovery unit. And as she have indicated when she was introducing, I have just recently started with the entity, but I've been with the entity, and I'm glad to share the knowledge that I'm about to share with the practitioner, especially after sitting down and compile a well-thought presentation to see if there are things that the practitioner need to go through. And I will start my presentation of invoicing, payment, and collections. But before we dwell to the invoicing, processing, and payment part, I would like to also give a bit background on why the department was formed and what are we doing as a function. Yes, as you can see, the PPRA is a public entity as required in terms of it is a public entity as defined by the Public Finance Management Act. And so in terms of one of the section under PFMA, it requires that whatever is being owed to the entity need to be collected after taken all the reasonable steps and appropriate action. So, which is why the unit was formed, and as the unit was formed as a response and control measure to ensure that that section for the PFMA is being taken into account, especially because one of the things that are the audit, like that the compliance part of it, we are being audited on the compliance part of it. Are we taking any step as any entity to collect whatever is being due to the entities? And to achieve this, the unity has implemented the following initiatives. These are things that we are trying to implement as an entity and as a unit under the PPRA. So things like there have been changes in the leadership. We try to ensure that we implement efficient invoicing and payment process to ensure that whatever the practitioner is being invoiced is accurate. We develop a guideline, policies, and procedures on how we're gonna collect the funds owed to the public entity. And the other thing that we've been trying to do was to enhance communication method, the way we will be emailing you the statement, we'll email you the letter of reminder. Also, some of the practitioners, if we don't have their contact with their email address, we try to call them through our as part of our method of communication. And also the one thing that I have been and will also been try was to build a trust and collaborate with the property practitioners, where if the property practitioners are available and they have a financial burden, we engage on how we can make payment arrangement where necessary, of which those are the things that are, as a department, we are trying by all means to ensure that whatever we are doing, our practitioners are informed, our practitioners are being engaged, and any communication that is available, our practitioners are being, which is one of the things that we would like maybe if our practitioner to update their contact information, especially the emails, so that when we send, we are providing to the information that is needed to the valid and the latest email that they are using, because we realize some of the emails that we are having are way outdated, and if now we can't engage appropriate with our customers. So now drilling to the what we are here for today, we as thought maybe it's important to indicate with to show you the invoicing process, or how do we invoice and what do we invoice for. As you know, now we are on a renewal window for FFC, which is one of the things that we invoice in July, and the window and it's gonna run from July up until October, which now is the last month of the window, but the window is still open. And the other main thing that I think the other thing that we would like to also take into the attention to the property practitioner is regarding the CPDs, where now from now on going forward, they will be invoiced in April, unlike in the previous years where they were invoiced at the beginning of year. I think the main decision for that was to ensure that we align our invoicing process with our financial year and also with the CPD cycles. In that way, we don't have any other invoice that are lagging behind the financial period, also behind the CPD cycles. And one of the things that we are trying to do now was to say every time when we raise the invoice, we going to send you that invoice so that you are aware of the invoice that are being due, and then on a monthly and or on a quarterly basis, we will be also communicating with the statements and providing the detailed information on things that we've been invoiced for. And while we are continuing with the invoicing process, where we are saying beside the CPD and the FFC, there are other things that we do invoice for, which those things are invoiced at a point in time when we engage with the property practitioners, where if they are buying a study guide, if they are entering into an examination and all other things, we're gonna be invoicing you when we are providing that kind of services. where we're saying if there are these services, and then we provide you that kind of invoice. And then for the late renewal of FFC, we have to invoice. That's why we encourage people that as soon as the July cycle was raised, this invoice was raised, we encourage our property practitioner to pay on time, so that to avoid this kind of penalty. But at the same time, because the penalties are due to the public entity, as an entity, we have to invoice those penalties. And in terms of the act, the legislation that bind us as a public entities, we are not allowed to issue any FFC if those payments are not being made, if those invoices are not being paid for the penalty. That's why we encourage you. That's why even now, when we are saying we are on the last month, and we kindly ask and request our property practitioner to ensure that they renew on time, to avoid late, like the last minute renewals. And the other thing maybe that we try to invoice was the late submission of the audit report. I think if you are aware, as a firm or as a principal, you have to submit the audit report, and if you are late to submit, we will charge you penalties for that period that you are late. And then if you don't submit after 3 months, then it becomes non-submission, and then you are now become a fine. And then that's when we are saying, okay, for the fines, after determining that a contravention was being made, that's when we will invoice for that kind of fines. And the last thing that is very important to us, that we usually invoice to our property practitioners, where those agent interest, where after receiving the audit report, then that's when we invoice the firm who submitted those audit report. And it's important, maybe for me to also to raise it on here, that as an entity, there will be those invoices that are raised at a certain point in time. I think maybe when the entity has been doing the investigation, that's when they discover, oh, this service that was rendered, no invoices were raised, or penalties. That's why sometimes you'll find that a penalties that was never raised, but because when we do our investigation, we realize, oh, so this person was late, and he didn't pay the penalty, so now we need to raise those invoices of late renewal. So there are different situations that as an entity we invoice our property practitioners. And the invoicing process, I think this is where now we are saying for our invoices, we cover ourselves that if you have an invoice that was sent to you, or you receive a statement and you have not yet received any invoices, at your request, we are available as a public entity to assist. I think that is our main mandate, and as a department, that whatever our customers are looking for, if they requested on time, we will provide them to. If they receive the statement and then they realize that there are some invoices that are sitting there that they are not aware of, the department is here. Me and my colleagues are available to explain why did we charge you the invoices, and what did we charge you invoices, and how the entire process that led you to be charged the invoices. And I think with this one, I will also ask for the practitioners to bear with us. If they receive the invoice, the statement without receiving the invoices, they can request for the invoices to the department. The department will be glad to provide whatever the customer is requesting. So after doing the invoicing, then that's when we're like, okay, so the next step, we invoice. Now we come to the payment process, where we are saying, okay, as an organization, as a department, we endeavor to ensure that all payments received are recorded promptly and allocated to the correct account. Banks, I think this is where now we are saying every month, every day, we'll be uploading the bank statement to see whatever who pays, and we upload those payments and we upload them using the PIN or reference number. So which is where now we are saying, when our property practitioners, our customer, when you make a payment, please use your reference number or your PIN number. I think that, so now I think this is when it's going to be very important for the allocation, because after receiving the payment, we need to correct to the right account. For instance, if Naledi didn't use the PIN number and she used her name, we find that we have so many Naledies that now we don't even know who are these people or who is this Naledi that make this kind of payment, right? So here we are saying it is paramount important that property practitioner use the 7-digit reference or the PIN number when making a payment. The PIN number is a very unique number that is only allocated to a specific person or one person. So if you are using that PIN number, it's easy for us to allocate to the right account the payment that was made. And then we are saying also, so as a, I think this is where now we are saying, as a principal, you have your own PIN number and you have your own firm PIN number or firm reference. So now we are saying, when you are making a payment that relates to the firm, please use the PIN number or the reference number that relates to firm. Don't use your own reference number, because now the money or the payment will be allocated to your account. And now the firm's account will still be reflected as if it's owing, because now we have to allocate that specific payment to you, to your account, because you use your own reference instead of the firm reference number. And then we are saying, if you don't have a reference number, you are new or you have not yet registered with PPRA. We are saying, please use as an individual property practitioner, please use your ID number, because that one is unique and specific to you. And if you are paying for the firm and you have not registered with PPRA, kindly use the firm registration number, because even that one is only related and specific to the specific firm. And then I think this is where now we're saying, due to people using incorrect reference or using their name or any other thing instead of using their reference number, now we are finding ourselves with this money that we can't allocate to anywhere, which now increases the debt, because that payment was not yet allocated to the right reference number, which means now it's going to be reflecting as if you are owing. And now when we follow our process, that's where now people are receiving the letter of demand or receiving any other letter that show they are owed, or statement that show they are owing, but they did make a payment. However, they use the reference number. And the other thing that we are struggling is, if you now use an incorrect reference number and you need your FFC, so we can't give you the FFC because the payment has not yet been allocated to the right account. It's still sitting somewhere on unallocated receipts, because that's where we put everything that we can't allocate there. But if now you use the right 7-digit reference or right PIN number, or you use your own ID number or your own company registration, when we do the investigation of these accounts, that's when we're able to allocate to those accounts. But if you use your name, now we have so many names, we have so many surname, people who are using this same surname, which also give us a problem. So to do that, what we did was, okay, maybe let's make an example. So since we bank with ABSA, we are saying, okay, so for this ABSA account, if you are paying on your own self banking account, and you realize that this is what this is, and this is how the account look, we are saying here, where they are saying account number or reference at PPRA, we are saying here, please, this should be your 7-digit reference number or your PIN number or your ID number or your company registration number, so that we can be able to identify the money received, where does it release to, who does it release to, because in that way we are able to say, now let's allocate to the right account. But so this is the way we're saying, we give example of this bank account, but there are so many other bank accounts. For instance, like their Standard Bank, where now they are saying, we're saying here, please use the 7-digit reference number, the ID number, the company registration number, anything that will be able to identify you. And in that way, it's going to assist us with allocation and also providing us with whatever you are looking for. Because now we will be chasing you, but you have made a payment, but we will be keep sending this thing. And it's going to be a frustrating process on both sides, on your side and also on our side. We are saying, we are saying, yeah, when we are saying, please pay and it can be paid, right? I think okay, yeah. So before I move to the collection part of it, so we're just asking, requesting, humbly requesting to our property practitioners that let's use the right reference number. Let's use the right if you don't have a reference number, use your ID. If you don't have an ID, if you are a company, you are paying for the company, please use the company registration number if you don't have a 7-digit number, because we don't want now to have a problem where things are not allocated. And when we try to collect that fund that is due to the entity, now it's looking like it's going to be very frustrating to you because you have paid, and it's also going to be a problem to us because we can't allocate that money to you up until we have a proof that indeed it belonged to you. That's why when we request, we are saying, if we send you a statement or anything, and you realize, no, I've made a payment, we request, make sure that we have submit a proof of payment, you submit something that shows that indeed you made a payment so that we can allocate to the right account, right? And now provide you with an appropriate and valid statement. Okay. So moving to the collection process. So the first step is going to be the invoicing. The second step is going to be the payment. And then the last step is going to be collection. So now we are saying in terms of our own policies, because as an entity, we need to develop our own. I think this is one of the things that I indicated when we, on the first slide, that as an entity to ensure that we are complying with PFMA Act, that we need to do this. We were saying, let's develop our own police and see how are we going to collect these funds and how are we going to make sure that indeed whatever is owed is being paid. So here, that's when we developed a collection process. We were saying, okay, the collection steps. Now we're saying, well, it will begin when we are sending a detailed statement to the property practitioner reflecting all outstanding balances, right? I think this is when we're saying, we send you a statement and we request, okay, let's make a payment, because the statement is reflecting that there are amounts that are more than 30 days, which are overdue, which now we are considering them overdue, right? I think that's where we will start. And I think this is where now we are saying, if you have received a statement from the PPRA and you don't agree with the amount that are sitting on a statement, engage with us, ask questions, and also try by all means to make sure that whatever that is being owed is reflected on this outstanding statement is valid, and you agree and you are happy with the amount. And in that way, that's where now I'm saying some of the time it's better to now say, no, I make a payment. This is the proof that I make a payment, and then that's when we will allocate the payment. So the other step that before we do anything, we try to make sure that whatever the statement that you are saying is, and you agreeing and you are happy, everything is fine. But if you are not responding on the statement that was issued to you, that's where now we're saying, okay, let's as part of our process, let's follow the other step now. What do we need to do? That's where now we're saying, okay, let's maybe send a reminder, send another statement telling you, please pay within this period so that we allocate. And then I think the other step that we follow, I think maybe this is where now our colleagues have received the majority of the statement of the step. We were saying when is applicable, we will issue a letter of demand. That's when we realize no, we send the statement, we send the invoice, and we have not yet received any communication or anything. That's when we have to send a letter of demand. And even that's when now we are saying, okay, we issue you with this letter of demand. If you don't agree, if you don't agree with the amount, communicate with the department, because that we can be able to assist you with it there when we are engaging with you. I think, and now to be honest, we've been engaging with the property practitioners. Yes, some have received the letter of demand where they're not supposed to receive it, of which we are saying, if it is that situation, contact us so that we make sure that whatever you are saying is valid, so that even you, once we engage, once we sort it out, we will be able to now give you a updated statement and tell you that now nothing will be done, no further action will be taken, because your account was accurate and everything was done in accordance. So now that's where now, before we do anything, before we take any other step further, we are saying we will ensure that whatever the people are saying, I received a letter of demand, but we need to clear all the queries, all the things. That's why now we are saying, if by all means the property practitioners have received a letter of demand and they are not agreeing with the letter of demand, by all means, the department under me, we are available and we will assist you. And the other thing that maybe also that is very important that we would like to also bring to the attention, that I think also is that every time when this kind of decision was taken, we will issue a communication on our portal where we are saying, when we're explaining whether it's valid, it's us who issued them, when we are saying what the property practitioner can do so that we assist them, and then also to also indicate to them that no, it's us, and here, please contact these colleagues. In that way, we assist each other, because so that your account is accurate, so that our books are accurate. In that way, we are winning, and the property practitioner has been taken care of. Yes, there will be a situation where you are receiving, and for instance, some of the letter of demand included the 2786 for renewal, and on the communication that we send out, we try to clarify that yes, indeed, they still have until the 31st of July 2020 to July 2025. But looking at the volume of the transactions that people have been doing, instead of waiting for the last minutes to say people pay, now people are paying on the last minute, we are saying let's encourage them and include that amount as well as part of the demand. Yes, that's where now we clarify that amount, there's no any other action will be taken because it's still within the period. But as an encouragement to the people, that, and as a reminder that this still amount for your renewal, because your renewal is very important for both of us as an entity for compliance and also on your side, so that you operate with a valid and dedicated FFCs that was issued on time, and also to avoid backlog, to avoid all other things where number of people are applying on the last minute, because if we have, yes, it's still within your right, but at the same time, it's very important for us and for you as a provider, so that you receive your FFC on time. I think the other thing that we do as part of our own collection process was to make payment arrangement and relief, where we are saying, okay, we do understand the situation that our property practitioners are on. Especially looking back, there is a lot of many things happen that majority of them affected their ability to operate and all other things. We were saying, okay, come to the department, we can be able to negotiate and offer you a payment arrangement that is favorable to you. Where now we are saying for that is very favorable to you. In that way, we are ensuring that your account and we are receiving the FFC, you are receiving the thing that you need, while also making sure that you are operating and in that way it assists both of us. And then I think also I think also on the firms, because the firm will find that they are receiving the fines and everything, and you realize some of the amounts are too big to be paid in one installment, and we are saying, okay, the payment arrangement will or payment relief, it will assist you to arrange it in such a way that it favors you. Now, I think maybe the other thing that we're trying to appeal to the property practitioner is that please honor that agreement. If an agreement was given to you through faith by the department, it means we trust our property practitioner. We believe in our property practitioner to ensure that they will honor the agreement. Because if you don't honor the agreement, then now we need to take the drastic measures to say this person has not honored their agreement for certain period. Now we need to now see, because as part of the AOD, it does list what will happen when the agreement is not being honored. One of the things that it lists is that the balance that is being owed, it need to be paid fully. Or yes, because now we are saying you were supposed to follow this, and we do this to assist you because you were saying I'm experiencing financial hardship. But now, if you are not complying to what you have agreed and the payment term that you set for yourself, now we are forced to follow that step. We will say, no, this is the plan that need to be paid. Okay. Moving to the other thing where we are saying, okay, we've done that. Now there is other step where we say, okay, if things are not, if we are engaging and we are not receiving the response that we are looking for or anything that we are looking, that's when we are saying, okay, we will take now there is a step that we are saying we're going to implement different measures to ensure that one of the measures was to be like restrictive measures. We were saying, okay, I think they call it block. We were saying now we're gonna block you, and there are certain things that we can't do with PPRA until certain period of time you sort your account. And then the other thing was to take further to legal department or other thing. But for us to reach here is when we exhaust everything. It's when the letter of demand we gave it to you, and we engage with, and then everyone after we take everything, then there's those ones who didn't respond. That's when we're like, anyone who have not responded, then we have to take it further. But if you receive it and you are not happy with it, we contact us, we sort it out so that we don't do anything that will affect that we don't do anything other than updating your records, updating our records so that we are everything is in accordance. And then the other step that is very important that as a department that we are saying, okay, we need to ensure that our property practitioners are receiving a detailed statement. We need to ensure that before any other measure is applied, the property practitioners are receiving the reminders that they are owed. And then before a letter of demand is issued that's when we will have that communication from the portal saying, yes, we are going to issue the letter of demand, and these are things that we are looking for. If it's valid, it's valid, and all other things. I think even the current one, there is a communication from the portal, which is one thing that I'm saying. Before anything, you can also look at it and see, does it cover some of the questions that you have been having? Because I think the majority of them will have been covered there on the communications. Okay. Okay, so I thought it's gonna be very important to also to show our statement. So when you receive the statement, it's going to be like this, where it shows the PPRA logo, the date it was downloaded, and also the address for the PPRA. And people or official, you need to make inquiries to. And then here it will also show you the amount that is due, the amount that is being owed for 30 days, it's been owed for 60, 90, and going forward, right? But the most important part that I wanted to communicate to the property practitioners is this one where we are saying, or at the bottom of our statement, it will show the account that property practitioners need to make to. So for instance, the ABSA one is for anything that property practitioner are making payment for. CPD, FFC, and all other things. And then the net bank one is where we are saying this is for the fines, contraventions, and all other things that they're making payment for. So even here, we are appealing to the property practitioner that let's make payment to the right account that belongs to the PPRE. There are two accounts. There's one that says that's ABSA one, and then there's one for the net bank. Let's make to the ABSA one for any other things, and then for fines and interest, let's make it to the net bank one. I think the distinction is very important when you are making a payment. And also, here at the bottom, it will say 7-digit reference, which is that reference number that we've been talking to at the beginning, saying, when you make a payment, please make it to the right account, make it to the right account. Because in that way, it gives us it assists us, and it also assists you so that you don't now receive this unnecessary communication, this unnecessary thing that now you are panicking and everyone is panicking, because you will make it to the right account, a correct reference was used. I think this is where now we are appealing to the property practitioner. Please, let's make it to the right account. Okay, so this is how the statement will be look like, and every time we'll be communicating, sharing the statement, making sure that your statement is updated. And if you disagree with the amount, feel free to communicate with the department. The department is there to help. I know there's been lack of maybe I know that there's been situation where people are saying we've been communicating with this and this and this, and they have not yet received any response. To me, I'm saying I'm betting that if there is any communication that you have been sent to PPRA and you have not respond, you can send it directly to me, and you can send it to that debt collection unit, so that if to see, like, to assist you and then to fast track, because like now I can be also now I will be aware, and also I can take the necessary action that is needed to ensure that my team can respond on time, can do what is needed on time. In that way, that's way at the end I left my email address that, and if you need anything, if you've communicated the department and no one has been responding, this is my email. You can communicate directly to me. Then I will make sure that whatever that is being communicated is being taken care of. And I sincerely apologize if there is. I sincerely apologize for all the property practitioners who've been communicating with the entity and they have not been receiving the communication from my department. And for that, I'm saying forward. Now I'm also part of the department. If there is any email that you feel like we need assistance and we need it fast, you can directly communicate with me. Okay, so I think this is where now we're saying if we have a collection and everything and what needs to be done, but at the same time, we have to we need to also ensure that our property practitioners are receiving the service that they are requesting for. That's why now I think our aim is to ensure that you receive or invoice on time and that payments are allocated correctly, which go back to what I'm saying. As long as there is a right reference, then that payments will be allocated correctly. And then the other thing that we are saying, we encourage our property to raise any issue related to their balance. If you feel like you've been communicated, that you have received the communication and you are not happy, we are requesting that communicate with the department. The department is there to help. Yes, there will be a lot of the time and everything, but at the same time, it's our mandate, it's our duty to make sure that we are receiving the services that we are requesting for. And then the most important one that I've been saying is this one. We were saying we encourage you to renew on time, especially for your FFCs. And then the other thing that maybe that I will be also, this one, it just appeal from my side, that I know our property practitioner have a lot of questions, they have a lot of things, but bear with us. Bear with us when we're trying to ensure that the necessary steps are taken into account before any other measures are taken. And I think, okay, yeah, I think that was my last slide, and this is my communication that if you need anything, if you have received any communication, you have sent a communication and you are not happy, you can email to me, Masham Rendeni, and then you can also, I think I put a link for me as well that take directly to me, and also an email that now I'm overseeing to make sure that whatever you are communicating is being attended to. I'm overseeing this email data collection. Thank you so much. I think this is everything that I would like to also bring to the attention to our lovely property practitioners. Thank you so much, Naledi, for your time.
Thank you, Morendeni. Just stay tuned. We'll come back to you, Morendeni, with the questions. There's a lot of hands. I see 17 people in the chat as well. Let's welcome our second speaker on compliance, Kaylin. If you're ready, you can unmute and share, Morendeni. Yes, thank you.
Good morning and thank you, Naledi. Okay. Can everyone see my slides? Okay, fantastic. So good morning to everybody, property practitioners, the BPRA, and everybody else that has joined the webinar this morning. Thank you to Naledi for the lovely introduction, and I'm excited to be chatting to everyone regarding FICA compliance. So we will be discussing the fundamentals of FICA compliance. So why this is important is because in anything that you do, it is important to have your foundations. It's important to know what you are doing, why you are doing it, to get a better understanding as to how to implement those activities that are required, especially now for FICA compliance. Naledi did mention AML, anti-money laundering. So FICA is a legislation which is financial crime legislation to combat money laundering, and that's where anti-money laundering comes in. So let's start. Okay, so we know that we are discussing the Financial Intelligence Center Act today, or as most of you know, FICA, which is an acronym of the Act, and can also be used or is known to be used as an adjective. Did you FICA that client? Did you FICA that client? So we will refer to FICA in this presentation. So the Financial Intelligence Center Act was enacted in 2001, and it was a rules-based approach, which meant one size fits all. What that meant was that accountable institutions were told what they needed to do in order to comply with the Act. In 2017, the Act was amended to a risk-based approach. So what that meant was it included identifying, assessing, and managing your risks, which is specific to your institution, to an accountable institution. Because we all in different industries, we all deal with different clients, services, products, and there's different risks in every industry, and they needed to make sure that they are not letting criminals get through certain industries or using certain companies or methods to infiltrate and use those institutions for money laundering purposes. So again, or maybe just to explain a bit more, the reason they went from the rules-based approach to the risk-based approach was to align with international best standards and best practices to handle the complexities of modern financial crime more effectively. Because, like we know, criminals are always one step ahead, and it is important to make sure that we do our best in our capacity to identify when our accountable institution, our organizations are being used for these illicit activities. And it's also important to remember that we're always following international standards, best practices. We are a member of the FATF, who is the Financial Action Task Force, and we need to follow their recommendations. And also, we have adopted the United Nations Security Council's resolutions. So we need to also ensure that we are following those resolutions in order to be compliant as a country. So before FICA was enacted, there was a piece of financial crime legislation in place, namely POCA, the Prevention of Organized Crime Act. So that legislation alone probably was okay, but there were concerns, definitely concerns with regards to financial crime. And that is when FICA was enacted because of 2011. I think everybody is aware of what happened in 2011 with the Twin Towers and the other terrorist attacks that occurred. And the concern was growing. How do we protect our country from being sanctioned by other countries for not identifying when we are being used for financial crime? So FICA came along to work alongside POCA, as well as Pacta Tara, which is the Protection of Constitutional Democracy Against Terrorist and Related Activities Act. I'm not sure if some of you are aware that in the beginning of this year, they actually had the FICA was involved in the first successful court case in terms of Pacta Tara Act, where they had individuals who were sanctioned, and they were actually got to a point where they brought about a court case and went to court on these sanctioned purposes. And that came from the FIC's involvement in the investigations. And the FIC is doing a lot of work. You might not know about it, but today, or I think it was yesterday or today, the FIC actually released the annual report. Very, very insightful. I would recommend that everybody goes and has a look, read through that report, that annual report that was published, because that gives all the statistics and the work that the FIC has been doing, and just a lot of information on where we are at in terms of the combat against financial crime. So now you ask yourself, so what is FICA really? Why is it so important for us to comply with FICA? So FICA enables the identification of proceeds of crime, combating money laundering, terrorist and proliferation financing. So all the provisions in the Act has a purpose. When an Act is being drafted, everything has a purpose. So we are trying to identify when our country is being used by criminals. And that's one of the reasons why we ended up on the grey listing, is because we weren't doing a good enough job. So we need to identify when are we being used, what are we looking out for? And that is where the Act comes into play to help you. And all the guidance products that the FIC publishes helps you to identify when your institution could be being used for financial crime. FICA also requires accountable institutions to help detect and prevent financial crime. So we've got this big pie, right? Everybody is a small piece in that big pie. While you are not the FIC has advised that they are not expecting accountable institutions to be forensic investigators. What you can do is you can identify from your standpoint, how can my institution be used by criminals? What am I providing to the public that can be used by criminals? And it's very important to also get into the mindset of being part of the solution, being part of that want to make our country better. I am a big advocate for FICA, and I feel that we have such a beautiful country and we shouldn't allow criminals to use our country, our organizations, our corporates to conduct the illegal activities. And everybody playing their small part, it can make a difference. So FICA helps institutions in terms of the provisions, the regulations, the guidance products. It helps you to identify your client's property and properly. I'm not sure if that is a spelling error, my mistake. Monitor and report suspicious activity and keep audit-ready reports. We know that the retention period is 5 years of records, and there is a purpose for that. If anything should come up in the future within those 5 years, where the FIC might contact you to ask you questions about a client that you perhaps worked with, that is where that information is going to be very important in building a possible case. And then also, FIC is there to protect against money laundering and terrorist financing. Okay, so my next slide, I am going to give you a little story. Okay, I just want to give a heads up that this story is not about why FIC matters on a property practitioner's level. This is more, it's bigger than that. This is more of what would happen if we didn't have that piece of legislation called the Financial Intelligence Center Act. What would happen to the economy, to the everyday person on the street? So it's more on looking at society. How would we be affected as a society if FICA wasn't in place? So our story revolves around Lisa, your everyday person. You'll note that Lisa might have different faces. It's representing everybody within South Africa. So meet Lisa. She's worked hard, saved diligently, and finally bought her first home, which is what most South Africans' dreams are, to finally one day purchase their first home. She depends on a stable financial system to manage her bond, pay her rates, and plan for future. Now, without FICA, without FICA enacted in place in South Africa, criminals could exploit our financial system. Suddenly, Lisa's payments go up. Her dream becomes harder to afford. So we look at it at a standpoint of FICA is not enacted. We are getting home loans from financial institutions, but financial institutions are scared of lending money, of those transactions. They are scared that they can't identify what is legal and what is illegal funds coming into their accounts. They are terrified of being used for money laundering, terrorist financing. So what do? They up the interest rates, or from the reserve back down on the scale of the economy. Everybody is scared. The interest rates go up, and maybe lending criteria even becomes more stricter. The conditions, the terms, all becomes way stricter, and can actually make it also hard to afford a home loan, to purchase a property. So in this case, the interest rates has gone up, and now it becomes harder for her, Lisa, who is a hardworking individual who saved diligently, now to afford her home loan. FICA protects Lisa by the institutions like your financial institutions doing their due diligence in terms of FICA. FICA keeps criminal funds out and stabilizes the economy. Because when we comply with FICA, we protect the real people like Lisa. So as an accountable institution, property practitioners, your auctioneers, payment processors, developers, everybody who now falls under the scope of the Property Practitioners Act has a duty to society to protect everybody, including their family, including their friends, including their colleagues, everybody. So it's a big deal, and it can be, how can I say, it can be something that can be so rewarding if you think about it in the long term. Okay, another foundation of FICA compliance is to identify what aspects are involved, what financial crimes are we looking at when it comes to anti-money laundering, counter-terrorist financing, and counter-proliferation financing. So the first one we're looking at is money laundering. That is when funds or assets are used in money laundering activities or earned through illegal activities. The purpose is to conceal the funds or assets from the law. So in money laundering, you got 3 stages. You've got placement, layering, and integration. Okay, so I'll give you an example. John sells drugs for a living and only accepts payments in cash. Naturally, I'm sure in his line of business. He deposits the proceeds of the sale into his minor son's account to conceal the proceeds. Another example is John sells rhino horns to Mike, who in turn sells the horns to the international market. Mike pays John with 200 Rand banknotes. John deposits the proceeds into his bank account and rapidly withdraws the funds. So you would see that John selling the horns to Mike, who's Mike is now paying him for the horns in cash, right? So that is your placement. John depositing the proceeds into his bank account and rapidly withdrawing the funds is your layering, your placement and layering. And integration would be using those funds when it has been withdrawn. It has now been cleaned. So that is your examples of money laundering. What is not money laundering? So we look at an aspect of John owns a takeaway shop. John accepts cash for most of his takeaway sales. John does not declare these sales on his shop's tax returns. Naughty, naughty John. John is evading tax. This is not money laundering. However, should John integrate untaxed cash into the system, he will then be laundering money. So it's very important to identify how your institution can be used for money laundering, and that is all part of the risk-based approach. Okay, then we get to terrorist financing. So that is financial support in any form that enable acts of terror or terrorism whether committed by an individual or an entity or groups that encourage, plan, or engage in acts of terrorism. This includes intended plans to support or commit acts of terrorism. The goal of terrorist financing is to conceal financing and the nature of activity being financed. So again, we look at 9/11. That was a terrorist attack. They raised funds to get all the equipment, which also goes over to proliferation financing. But they raised funds so that they could do that terrorist activity. Okay, opposed to money laundering, there's 4 stages in terrorist financing: raising funds. So these is various methods are used in this type of aspect of terrorist financing, such as donations. So MPOs have come under a heavy telescope for being used for terrorist activities. If you read the National Terrorist Report, which was published by the Treasury, you will see they highlighted MPOs in that report. So that is a very common or known way internationally for funds to be raised for terrorist financing. Then it involves moving funds. So various methods such as crypto or smuggling to move the funds so that it doesn't catch your eye on all the funds being in one place. So also depositing cash at the bank, moving it from one bank account to another, that type of thing. Storing funds, this is generally done by similar means as moving funds, and then using the funds to pay for the expenses or purchasing weapons or equipment of financing operations. So if you look at proliferation financing, so the Financial Action Task Force has provided the following definition. Proliferation financing is the provision of funds or financial services used for the manufacture, acquisition, possession, development, export, transshipment, brokering, stockpiling, or use of nuclear, chemical, or biological weapons and the means of delivery and related materials. This includes both technologies and dual-use goods used for non-legitimate purposes and in contravention of national laws or, where applicable, international obligations. So if we look at it in a simple term, weapons of mass destruction, weapons used to start wars, weapons used for terrorist activities. So this is a real thing. Internationally, it could be a threat to South Africa as well, where organizations in South Africa are used to raise money for proliferation financing for your weapons of mass destruction. It's a very scary thought, but it is very real possibilities to be cognizant of. The intention is to use funds to purchase goods and materials from brokers or manufacturers to build a weapons of mass destruction program. The goal of proliferation financing is to conceal financing and the nature of the activity being financed. So the stages of proliferation financing is the same. You got your raising funds, you're moving funds, you're storing funds, and you're using funds. So it's important when we look at these stages of money laundering, terrorist financing, and proliferation financing to identify these stages and how your institution could be using any of those stages for those activities. I'm going to quickly run through the consequences because on one hand, we've got these illegal activities. What does it mean for us, our society? So money laundering undermines the integrity of our financial markets. It causes governments to lose revenue and has a negative impact on financial institutions. So it could be a downfall for our economy. Foreign investment could be also negatively impacted. And on the everyday man on the street, it can become a real threat. You look at some areas where there are gangs and young people that are being pulled into gangsterism, the violence on the streets, that is a consequence of money laundering. It can be a consequence of money laundering as well, because we all need to survive. We all have basic needs. Property is also a basic need, having a roof over your head. So we need to look at this in a real aspect as we need to fight this. We need to be part of the solution. Terrorist financing can lead to loss of life, your economic impact, and an impact on financial markets. And then proliferation financing, the illegal use of nuclear, chemical, or biological weapons, which leads to the loss of life and economic impact. So with all of that said, this is your basic understanding of where it starts. This is where it starts. These criminals are trying to use institutions to conduct their illegal activities. And that is where you come in as the property practitioner, as the accountable institution, not to fight or investigate everybody, but play your part with anybody that comes to your organization for your services or your products, and identify them, assess them, and determine what due diligence you will be doing on them based on the type of information brought to you. We need to understand FICA compliance. We need to know how it fits into our institution. How does it fit into your institution? FICA is the cornerstone legislation for combating financial crime, and it empowers accountable institutions to detect, prevent, report suspicious activity. Now we can look at some of the trends in the sector, in the industries. So as a property practitioner, as an auctioneer, as a developer, as a managing agent, everybody has different services offered. So we need to identify how is my company with my service and where I'm located, how is that going to be used? So for instance, money laundering, your exposure, for as an example, is that criminals will buy property to make illegal money look clean. They will buy property in a sectional title where the levies that needs to be paid can come from dirty money and make it look clean when refunds are requested. The trends for money laundering is a cash buyer uses stolen funds to buy a house. And this is also another known trend in the industry where a home loan is used to purchase property and then the loan is being paid up using cash over a short period of time. That is also a very, very misunderstood and not ignored per se, but it's not really identified as a method because we think banks are safe. But banks can also be used by criminals. Remember, they're always trying to find new ways to infiltrate and to use accountable institutions. Terrorist financing, what is the exposure? So property is used to move or store money for dangerous groups. An example or some of the trends, rental income quietly funds extremist groups. So they buy their properties, they purchase their properties, they are renting the property out and they're using those funds for illegal activities or intended illegal activities. And then, like I mentioned previously, MPOs or your NGOs are used to hide the beneficial owner to purchase the property. Because remember, in FICA, KYC, we need to identify and verify our clients. If a criminal is going to come to you, it's going to be easily detectable that this person, there's something going on, whether through verification methods or whatever, you will identify there's something that's not right with this client and possibly report. Legal arrangements, legal structures are used to hide the criminal, hide the true owner, the beneficial owner, the person that benefits at the end of the line, so that they won't be caught or the transaction will go ahead so that they can continue to conduct their illegal activity. Then we have proliferation financing. So the exposure, what is the exposure there? The property deals hide links to banned or sanctioned people. Okay, and then a trend for that would be a shell company buys land on behalf of a blacklisted entity. Remember, these people always want to try and hide the true person that benefits from these transactions. And that is why when it comes to your companies, your corporate structures, you need to identify the beneficial owner. It's a requirement in terms of the act and very important. So compliance culture is very, very important. It's important not only for principals attending here today, but also for staff of those accountable institutions. Having a compliance culture makes it easier for everyone to work as a team so that you can play your part as an organization. Be part of the solution to strengthen South Africa's financial integrity post-grey listing. We know that we are near the end of whether we're going to exit the grey listing. So even post-grey listing, we need to keep maintaining that compliance status because just because we exit the grey list, hopefully end of this month, doesn't mean our obligations can now be relaxed. We need to keep fighting, keep punching, keep doing what we are doing. You need to protect your business and clients from exploitation and build trust through transparent and compliant operations. So that is a bit of background as to why it's important for accountable institutions to comply with FICA. So FICA brings about obligations for your institution. They are called the pillars of FICA, which is known to many in the industry. So what the pillars of FICA is, it is basically the requirements. What do accountable institutions need to do to be compliant with the Act? So you need to register with the FICA. If you do not register with the FICA, it can lead to administrative penalties. It's also important to remember that you need to make sure that all your branches are also registered. Very, very important. Submit regulatory reports to the FICA. So you have your cash threshold reports, your suspicious transaction report, your suspicious activity report, your terrorist property report, your terrorist activity reports, and your terrorist property report. I mentioned your terrorist financing report. So those reports are all regulatory reports, and there are requirements when you need to submit those reports. Non-reporting can lead to fines up to 10 million rand for individuals and 50 million rand for companies, or criminal prosecution with up to 15 years imprisonment. So it's very, very important. Timing of your reporting is very, very important as well. Accountable institutions need to implement a risk-based approach. Failure to apply a risk-based approach can result in ineffective anti-money laundering controls and regulatory penalties. Your risk-based approach is where you identify, assess, mitigate, monitor, and manage your risks. So those are the 5 elements of your risk-based approach. It all starts there, where you need to implement controls based on the risks identified by your institution. You need to develop a risk management and compliance program, or RMCP, as many of you may know it. So this is like a Bible for any accountable institution. It's a very important document, and it's very important that it is bespoke for your organization. A well-designed RMCP protects your institution from blind spots, supports consistent decision-making, and helps you justify actions during inspections or investigation. You need to, as a requirement, establish beneficial ownership. So SIPC has now recently, not too recently, started beneficial ownership declarations, where a company actually has to declare who the beneficial owner is. That is also part of FICA. It came about because of the FATF's recommendations. So it is very important to identify who the beneficial owners are of your clients, if they are a legal structure, because criminals often hide behind layers of fake ownership. You could unknowingly be helping someone launder money or fund terrorism. So that is why it's very, very important. Conducting due diligence. We all know this as a requirement. And it's not just identifying and verifying your client. It's not just getting an ID document and a proof of address and you have done your bit. It's so much more than that. And it is very important that you do conduct proper due diligence. You've got your normal due diligence, your standard due diligence. You've got additional due diligence for your legal clients, and then enhanced due diligence for your high-risk clients. So there's different levels. Each company, each institution will have different requirements in what their due diligence processes will entail, but it doesn't start and stop by an ID and proof of address. It ensures your institutions know who they are dealing with and can assess the risk of the relationship. Inadequate CDD, customer due diligence, can lead to fines, frozen accounts, and exposure to criminal liability. Okay, a few more obligations. You need to scrutinize your clients against the targeted financial sanctions list. These are people sanctioned by the United Nations Security Council, and you cannot do business with them. You need to determine whether your clients are politically exposed persons. We all know about state capture. one of the reasons we ended up on the grey listing, and it is very important to identify if your clients are politically exposed persons because they are considered higher risk. Transaction monitoring is very important that you're always monitoring your transactions to identify anything suspicious, and lack of monitoring can result in missed red flags and legal consequences for failing to report. You need to keep records of your customer transactions because it supports investigations, as I mentioned previously, and failure to retain records for the required period can lead to fines and operational disruptions. A compliance officer, you need to appoint a compliance officer. So it's also important to remember a compliance officer must be an employee of the accountable institution. That cannot be outsourced to anyone. The compliance officer must be an employee. This person makes sure your business follows the rules. They're your internal watchdog. So if you think of FICA as South Africa's watchdog for financial crime, your compliance officer is your internal watchdog. Must have superiority, sufficient knowledge and experience also to fulfill their responsibilities. Cannot be anyone that is in a junior level because they would not have sufficient knowledge of what they need to do. No one is responsible for compliance, which means things can slip through the cracks. So you have your FICA compliance officer and everyone that helps the FICA compliance officer. Training employees on how to comply with the Act, also a requirement in terms of the Act. Your staff needs to identify and respond to suspicious activities, and training helps them get comfortable and confident of reporting their suspicious activity or behavior from their clients to the FICA compliance officer. And untrained staff may overlook red flags, leading to non-compliance and potential criminal liability. So in everything in life, there is pitfalls, things we need to identify and fix, remedy. So what are the common pitfalls in the property practitioner or the real estate sector? So treating FICA compliance as a one-time checkbox. So like I mentioned, it's more than your ID and your proof of address. And it is not a checkbox. You need to know your client. You need to know who you're dealing with. You're not going to be the best friend. You're not getting to know them in that way, the best friend or anything like that. But you need to know on a business level, who is this client? Where do they come from? What do they want? Why do they want it? Doesn't have to be interrogating the client. That's why processes are important, and training your staff on how to deal with the clients. Incomplete or poor quality client records have also been identified. Beneficial ownership is overlooked. A lot of accountable institutions go up into a certain point, like, okay, we've identified far enough. We don't need to identify further than the first layer of the structure. That is not correct. They ignore the risk-based approach. They just make their own rules and they go about that instead of following the risk-based approach as guided by the FICA. There's need for constant staff training, and generic RMCP is very, very big one. Not even just in the real estate sector. I think in South Africa, all accountable institutions, there is instances where there's a copy paste, and that is not correct, and you will get fined for a copy and paste RMCP. Okay, so I'm just going to go a bit more into mistakes accountable institutions make so you can identify, am I making this mistake? Am I one of those organizations who is making this mistake, or a staff member who is making that mistake? Remember, there's today, we're in the now. All we can do is move forward and fix and remedy what we need to so that we can maintain a compliance status. So common mistakes is not understanding their own risks. Accountable institutions are not understanding. They are a bit confused as to how to conduct a business risk assessment, and they find trouble in where they must look, what they must assess, what they must identify. So that is a mistake because their understanding instead of what the FIC requires. Not understanding how money laundering takes place in the industry, complying for the sake of complying. So it's more the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law. Lack of ownership by governing body and delegating too much responsibility. So very important. Guidance Note 7A came out, was published, where they highlighted directors, senior management's involvement in FICA compliance. It's very, very important that they are involved, not in your operation day-to-day processes perhaps, but overseeing everything, being involved in what is being implemented. Is it the right processes? Lack of adoption of culture of compliance. Thinking anything we do, culture is very important aspects to an individual, and it's very important in compliance because getting your staff's buy-in makes your job much more easier as a principal or director of a company. Excessive delegation to junior employees and derogation of duties to an admin task. Understanding, adoption, and implementation of RMCP, generic training without training staff on your own RMCP and content. Remember, everybody needs to understand that RMCP. Over-reliance on verification systems. So it is a shortcut that is being used. I've done the checks. Be cool. That is not recommended. And misguided belief that money laundering only takes place where cash is involved. Also very, very important. I think a lot of accountable institutions say, oh no, we don't accept cash at our office. So we don't need to report. We don't need to follow FICA compliance to that extent. It is not start and stop with cash. There's so much more to FICA compliance and what to look out for. Okay, and then your consequences. So consequences of non-compliance with FICA can lead to legal actions initiated by regulatory authorities, reputational damage. You will lose trust from your customer and business relationships, which means less business might come your way, and financial penalties being imposed by regulators, and it can adversely affect your financial stability, and it might lead to downscaling your staff, might also end up in closing the business. These are all possibilities, real possibilities, which you need to be cognizant of and make sure that you're implementing the right processes in terms of compliance. So that is the end of my presentation this morning. However, I would just like 1 more or 2 more minutes, please, just to give you some highlights from yesterday's roadshow, which took place in Cape Town. So the FIC had a roadshow yesterday held in Cape Town, and there was just a few highlights from the roadshow that I'd like to just advise you guys of. So by the end of this month, we will know whether South Africa is exiting the grey list. So stay tuned to that. It'll be good, but also responsibility to keep off the grey list. The next FATF, mutual evaluations. So they're going to the FATF is going to review our country's financial crime legislation and processes. That evaluation will could potentially commence in April 2027. RMCPs had to be submitted to the FIC in March 2025. A lot of accountable institutions have not done so. So if you have not uploaded your RMCP to the FIC's website via the Go AML platform, please do so. Directive 6, there's still a lot of accountable institutions who haven't submitted Directive 6. Please make sure that you submit that if you have not as soon as possible. And then they also mentioned that the methodology for the determination of the financial penalty. So if they had to sanction a accountable institution, the FIC, it is based on what would be proportionate and persuasive. The fee considers the annual turnover of the accountable institution, the seriousness of non-compliance, as well as a reoccurrence thereof, as well as the rand value of transaction involved. So I know a lot of institutions I asked, how do they calculate how much the penalty will be? They look at those factors, and it's never a thing of a straight calculation. So just make sure you are compliant so you don't have to pay a cent. Thank you very much for your time. Naledi, that is me.
Thank you. Thank you, Colleen. That was interesting, informative presentation. Colleagues, we saw your comments on the chat. Yes, we are going to share the slides. We have your email addresses, everyone who registered for the webinar, and the recorder, we're going to put it on our YouTube channel, PPRA TV, tomorrow by our communications department. Morendeni and Kaylin, we're going to go through the questions now and tackle them one by one. I've also given access to everyone in attendance. I have 7 hands now currently that have been raised. Let me take one question from the chats. Marie, is there a person one can communicate directly with a query? Yes, Marie, it will depend. What is the query about? As we have different departments, is it CPD, education, is it payment allocation, is it transformation or registration? But I've pinned my email address there on the chats. Maybe send me your 7-digit reference number. Anyone, in fact, if you have a query for other departments, for speakers who are not in this webinar, then send me that email with a 7-digit reference number so they can go into your profile and see what could have been the delay, and they can give you a response on what is it that you would need to submit. Colleagues, there's someone speaking. I'm going to mute them. Sakiwo, I'm going to mute you. I have not recognized you. Let me disable. Yes. So please send me all your queries. I've pinned my email address, but today we'll tackle those related to what the presentations were about, especially with finance, so that we can give you clarity. So maybe let me go to Marie. I hope that helps. But if you want to come in, you can raise your hand so that we can assist. Okay, let me go to the first questions. Johan, question, is the PPRA still using the SEP system to handle statements and payments? I feel that the system isn't user-friendly to manage finances for PPRA staff. Murendeni, what system are you using to issue those statements?
I think she's right. It's still SEP system. Yeah,
yes, and let's
right.
go to, yes, thank you so much. It's still SAP. Stefan, let me go to and see. Okay, it's not a question. Let me go and check the other question. Okay, I have a comment from Charles. I can confirm that Morendeni and his team are very helpful and efficient. I've had an invoice issue and they assisted me and resolved my issue in less than a week. Thank you so much for a positive comment. And I think also Morendeni and the team, they're available because here at PPRA, you can walk in Monday to Friday, anytime, sit with them or request a virtual meeting. They will assist you. Let's see, Ariane. So the PPRA are quick to fine us, to pay penalties so we can pay fines. The PPRA, for issuing late FFCs, they are missing, okay, sorry, beg your pardon. They are messing with our livelihood in issuing us with late FFC. I think this one I did reply to say, colleagues, if you ensure that you do your submissions on time, then so that you can avoid the penalties so they don't accumulate, you know, and you can also request from Rendeni's department so that they don't issue those penalties. But we must remember that the fines and penalties, they differ. It could be that you went for a adjudication process, or it could be the compliance department based on audit. Here's Carla. We use the correct reference numbers, but the payments are not allocated and you cannot get assistance from anyone. So Morendeni, if somebody uses the correct reference, their payment is still not allocated. What could be the hurdle from your department on this?
Okay. Thank you so much, Naledi, for the question, and also the person for the question, that because I see majority of the people are saying we did make a payment and so far there is no allocation, and I think so unless if there is there's incorrect in the reference, there's no way we won't be able to allocate the payment. I think that's why I'm saying if we use the right references, there's no way the payment might not be allocated to the correct account there. So I think that maybe that's the first. The other one might be the payment, the lag time between when was payment paid and when was uploaded to when was the bank statement uploaded. I think those are the only thing that can lead to payment not yet allocated to the right account. But if they can use the right reference, I promise them that we will allocate those things on time.
Can anyone email you anytime, and are you able to call if a client is frustrated so that we help them? Can they send you the emails directly?
What I think, which is what I wanted to also cover, that if there is like you have been facing, like I can see the people, what are they saying on the chats, and I'm here to help. They can send it directly to me and see that data's email. Anything that they need, I can provide to them. Yeah, I will take. I've taken this matter into my hand now.
Thank you, Murendeni. Can you please put for us the debt recoveries email that they need to follow up on? And as well, I've shared your email address. They can CC you there. Maybe just type it so long, that email address. I have Elise. The speaker is not speaking clearly and talking fast. I'm not talking fast. I'm not talking clearly. Apologies for that. I hope you can hear me now. It might be the volume on your side. Let me go to another one. Okay, it's a comment from Kim. Put the email addresses of these people on this forum, and we will see how helpful they really are. We take up the challenge. Please, Murendeni, put those email addresses so that we can assist. Okay, I have Chantel saying the speaker is making no sense. Please tell me where you are not understanding me. Maybe just come raise your hand, or maybe put it on the chat, and let's see how we can clarify. Let me go to another question. Francisca, I did not receive an invoice but did pay on time like the previous years. But I think this one is a duplicate question, Francisca, that Murendeni raised as well on that one. I think let me give those on the hands a chance. I'll come back to the chats. Let's go to Yvonne. Please unmute yourself and ask your question. Yvonne? Yeah, it could be. People are saying they can't hear me. Let's try Dikeledi. We will come back to Yvonne. If you can hear us, or if you can't unmute, please put your question on the chat. Dikeledi, unmute. Okay, maybe she also can hear me. Let's, because I have muted Zakiwo because you were speaking while others were speaking, I'm going to allow you the mic. Zakiwo, please unmute yourself. Okay, colleagues, if you don't unmute, I'm going to lower your hand so I can move to the next person. But if you remember your question or you manage, put it on the chat, because at least on the chat we can read your question and answer. Dikeledi didn't win. Zakiwo.
Sorry, I had raised it by mistake at the beginning, so it's okay.
Oh, it's
I'm
an
clear.
old hand. Okay.
Yes,
Let's go
thank you.
to Liz. Yes. Liz, you can unmute. Or maybe she stepped, sometimes you'll be on Teams and you step away, and when they call your name, you're not there. Let's go to Yakomina. Okay, not winning. Let's go to Marina. Marina, hand number 3. Okay. Franco. Okay, I'm going to go back
Hi,
to...
can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Yes, please
Yes,
ask.
just a question regarding the FICA portion. The Schedule 1 of FICA still, in its definition, refers to an estate agent as defined in the Estate Agency Affairs Board. Is the PPRA's position or just some clarity on if we are therefore a property practitioner but not an estate agent in terms of the old Act? Does the PPRA recommend that we are a accountable institution or not?
Thank you, Francois. So yes, with the new Property Practitioners Act being enacted or repealing the Estate Agency Affairs Act, property practitioners are accountable institution. There was an amendment in 2022 to Schedule 1 where property practitioners was now identified as opposed to estate agents, but obviously included estate agents who were not previously known as estate agents. So if you have an FFC with the Property Practitioners Regulatory Authority and you are considered a property practitioner in terms of the Act, then FICA does apply to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Let's go to Mark. Mark. Okay, Tilo.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
So I have sent my question, my concerns on an email, but I'm raising it for maybe other people have the same issues. I'm seeing invoices and statements of way beyond the current years, things that have been resolved and are still appearing on statements, and I've raised the queries, so I don't understand why they're still coming up, but maybe Randy can explain that. And the second one is on CPDs. Now, I qualified in 2023, full status, wasn't able to access CPDs, but I see it on my invoices now, or my statement now. What is the case? I don't mind paying for 2024 if I can still access 2024 and if it's still required. So I would like a response to those two.
Okay.
Sorry, and I just want to go back to the first part. The first part of mine is during COVID, we were not appointed anyway. So you couldn't pay your FFC fees because you had no appointment letter and you had no company to pay it in respect of, which was raised with EAAB in 2020. And I'm getting penalties for 2020 now after having paid all of my FFCs for the last 4 years.
Okay, Morandeni.
Okay. Thank you so much for the question. I think it's one of those questions that people have been asking about them, why sometimes there will be an invoice that still are standing that belong to 2020 or 2021 or 2022, depending on the outstanding of the invoice. And one of the reasons why it will be still outstanding is we find that that invoice was never paid. That's the first reason. And the other reason, it will be more like reconciliation when we reconcile the payment or when you pay specific to what you are looking for. For instance, you pay this invoices and you are doing for CPD or you are doing for FFC, and there will be an old invoice for education or any other service that was rendered that have not yet been reconciled. I think this is one of the reasons that might lead to those old invoices still yet open and not yet been paid. And for charging penalties, I will have to look at the account to see what was the reason for the charging penalties. But at the same time, I think as the practitioner might be aware, we have been for the last 2 to 3 years, the entity has been going through like an issue regarding the our receivable. So every year we have to do a detailed investigation of each account to identify what are the issues, if was there a penalty that was not charged for a specific year, or any other invoice that might not be charged. That's why sometimes you find that there are invoices that are charged now that belong to some of the older years, of which is because when we have to check the account, we have to look at each account and see was there any year that you paid or renew late. If it's there, if let's say you renew late in 2022, you renew in November. You renew in November instead of October, then we have to charge you that penalty for that year, but it's going to be raised now because that's when we discover it. So which also is assisting when with I think the investigation is assisting to identify the majority of the problem, but going forward, I think so far, due to the volume of accounts that need to be gone through one by one, and also making sure that each practitioner is receiving the correct account. That's why sometimes when we send you the invoice, we take the liberty to also engage and ensure that whatever left after our engagement, we don't have to have any other engagement. So, and then for CPD, I think the question regarding the CPD has been, so this one, I can only answer on the invoice part because we charge when you qualify. I think one of the requirements is that if you qualify for full, like if you get your education right, and before June, we have to invoice you for the CPD, but if it's anything after June for that specific year, then you will start doing in the following year. But the CPD department will have more information for that. So maybe what you can do, just email to me. I will take to the relevant department so that they can properly explain why are we charging, or why if you don't have access, so that they can give you access, because 23, 24 and 25 you can still be able to get access to those CPD material.
Thank you. That's fine.
Thank you, Murendeni. And for CPD, because it's a 3-year cycle, and I think you can still do it, and I think you've covered that. Maybe let's go and see. So then, Murendeni, I think for me, maybe we can give clarity on the AOD. I know that CPD, you can place somebody on AOD for 6 months, like a payment arrangement where they would have to pay if they had penalties on CPD. And for audit reports, you give AOD up until how many months, or it's based on the amount they owe. Can you maybe touch on the AOD a bit?
Yeah, thank you so much for that again, lady. Yeah, so AOD, we have this special arrangement that we usually enter with our property practitioners. And at first, the CPD, we didn't have any AOD specific for CPD, and now we are saying, okay, let's give our people for CPD if there is invoices for CPD between 3 to 6 months. So especially because sometimes you find that the property practitioner have not been doing their CPD for quite some time, and the invoice keep piling up. So now we are saying we can grant you the CPD, but the money need to be paid within the 6-month period. And the other arrangement for the other service, like penalties, for the penalties, especially when you are renewing, when you left industry, you never notified the entity, you're coming back now in 2020, 2025, when we charge you penalties, then you realize some of the amount are big. So what we do, and we can't issue the FFC without the CPD, the penalty part being taken into account. So for that to be able to issue the FFC, then we have to enter into a payment arrangement where it can range from that's when it depends. So it's gonna, so the 12, so the maximum is like 36 months. So it's gonna be on even on fines and other things, like, yeah, even on fines, where there is fines for contraventions and all other fines, then there is a payment arrangement that can be entered for CPD for those invoices, and
Okay.
the maximum is 36 months.
All right. No, thank you so much for that. And I think, colleagues, what you're touching on, Murendeni, it's important. If you decide to not continue to trade, please inform PPRA that I want to wind up my auditor's report, I'm closing the firm or I'm leaving that company, so that, because if you stop and you go and do another business and you say, I'll come back after 3 years, the system recognizes you as being active. So those penalties, they will still continue to pile. And I think also, if you're not sure of the dates, when is exam, when is renewal, drop them an email anytime and ask, please look at, here's my 7-digit, when am I due for me to renew, and make sure you're on top of it, one step ahead, so that you don't incur penalties. If they're always available to assist, and especially with what you said, with the other speaker, with the other attendee who had a question of the old penalties. So you had Morendeni that they will go into your profile, and if it's something that they must remove, they will remove it. If they have to explain it, then they will have to explain it. Let me move quickly. Let me go to Mark. Kayleen, there's a question for you. If a company has 17 directors, do you need to FICA all of them or a selection?
Thank you, Naledi. Thank you, Naledi and Mark. So 17 directors, we're looking at a legal person, and we are looking at a beneficial owner. So you look at your process of elimination. The first step is to identify directors and shareholders with 5% or more. If your RMCP stipulates that you need to identify all the directors, then you need to, but it is definitely recommended, or a requirement actually, that directors are identified through ID and verification. But again, your RMCP needs to stipulate that as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's go to hand number 1. It's marked as meeting. There's no name. Meeting, come through. Meeting, you are in the meeting. Okay, Elizabeth.
Hello. Hi, can you hear me?
No, ma'am. We will come to you, hand number 5. I'm going to disable you. Let's recognize those who raise their hands first. Elizabeth, please come through. I'm coming now to you, ma'am. Elizabeth? Okay, Nosi?
Lady,
yes.
I just want to, I did write a message on the, a question on the comments that says, could you please clarify to some of us that do not understand this thing of the reference number and the FFC number? Because whenever we make payments, we think it's the FFC number that we have to use. Meanwhile, it's a reference number. I think that is where some of our payments don't get located. That's number 1. Number 2, if a letter of demand has been issued to me and I need to renew my FFC this month, will I still be able to renew my FFC if I have not paid the amount in full? What then should I do if I am not going to be issued or will be allowed to renew my FFC? That's number 2. Number 3, can't we be given or be provided with numbers of the relevant people that we need to talk to resolve our issues instead of the emails? Because not all of us are checking our emails now and again, as it is going on in your offices, that our emails are not being attended within the day that I'm writing an email. Because now in this meeting, my question, the answer to my question won't be one size fits all. I will still have questions on the response you are giving. to someone else with the same problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I think those are important questions regarding the access to cell phone. You know, for me, because I'm in marketing, I do events, webinars, and workshops, and everyone that I interact with in that space that I work with, they have my WhatsApp. They WhatsApp me anytime, any weekend, for anything if they want to know the webinar date. But obviously, I think every department is different. But I do know our CEO, she did say that they must share cell phone numbers and help the practitioners so you're accessible on WhatsApp. You know, I even get WhatsApps of FFCs. Obviously, it's not my department, but I will forward it to the relevant manager. But me, people, they access me. But I think Murendeni will touch on that on that. But I also think walking into our offices as well, I've seen it helps. And also doing virtuals. If you need Murendeni to do a Teams with you, go through your profile, share a screen, and they can explain it. I think it's doable. Or they call you. You know me, somebody can send me an email. Naledi, call me. I call them immediately. Let's talk about it and let's resolve it. And I think it can work with other departments if they were to do it like that. But I know Murendeni is available, though he's new, but I think he's willing, and we appreciate his efforts for that. I think, Murendeni, that is an important question on the reference numbers. And the second question she raised, you want to touch on that? 3 questions from Nosi. Murendeni?
Okay. No, it's fine. Thank you so much again for the question. I mean, that's a very important question. And I think the first one was reference number and FFC number. So I think the FFC number, I think it can be the same as reference number. But if you check the reference number that we are talking about, there is a 7-digit number that when you register or when you become a property practitioner, they allocate you that number. So more like a PIN number. I think if we put it on in a layman term, it's a PIN number. So that PIN number is every time when someone is registered, then we automatically generate that PIN number. And then the FFC number, the reason why don't want us to use the FFC number is because remember every 3 years FFC expire and now you have to get a new FFC. So which means that the FFC won't be the same. The number for the FFC won't be the same. But if now we are using the reference number, but here we are saying reference number is more like a PIN number that is specifically allocated to you when you register. That's, yeah, there. And then the second part was regarding the LOD and FFC. I think, so for this one, so far, as we try to explain on our portal that the FFC renewals season has not yet ended, and the letter of demand is not affecting the renewal. So if you are renewing that, if you have, so we are talking about something that all the other invoices, of which if you have those kind of situation and you are renewing now, so to avoid situation where now some of the payments are allocated to all the debts, you can come to us. We engage. If you can't pay, we make payment arrangements so that we can be able to issue the FFC while you are paying the other debt separate, so that we can be able to say this is for the FFC. We gave you FFC, but you continue the agreement that we're gonna be entering. I think that's the best way we can be able to now to assist, especially now looking at the renewal window that we are on now. And the last one was the numbers. So okay, I think for the numbers, I don't mind as well for the personal numbers, but so far I have not yet shared them because, you know, when you just started and you don't want them to go out, but I will share with them, I will share my numbers as well so that maybe they can, if they can't find me on emails or on my landline number, they can text me via all other communications. So even that one, I can try to do that, yeah, so that we
Okay, thank you, Murendeni. So the AOD colleagues, it's acknowledgement of debt. It's a payment arrangement that the debt recovery unit will put you on. I'm looking at the time, but let's try to answer everyone before we close. If you are willing, speakers, because I had said until 12. I know you have other meetings, but maybe let's try to help quickly. WDW.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just one question. So the invoice for the renewals are out and it's due by the end of October. But there's then different charges on the renewal amount other than the stipulated amount. So there's already a late penalty invoiced. Can I get maybe some explanation on it? So instead of just the renewal fee, it is a fee charged as a late renewal, but it's not a late renewal, as renewals only close end of October.
Morandeni, quickly.
Okay, I think I do understand the question. I think if you check the portal will be talking about something different where they are saying late payment renewal, of which that's what we engage with the IT to sort up that one out. But in the meantime, what we try to say or to resolve it was, if you go to portal and you are seeing that one, please request a statement from our side. It will give you an appropriate amount that say how much you need to be paid, so that to avoid the situation. But in the meantime, those ones were, it's not only your case, there are other cases where people are saying we are seeing this on the portal, but when so far we have not yet been late and everything. Yes, I acknowledge no one has been late so far, so we can't charge anyone a late penalties. But what we're trying to say, if we have something like that and you want to make a payment, kindly please talk to us on my email. You can request. I won't be able to. I will respond on time with the appropriate and valid statement that show the latest amount that need to be paid for the FFC renewal. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's go quickly to the other hand, Suzanne. Suzanne. Okay, I'm gonna skip Antoinette.
Sorry, I was I couldn't get my mic on. Sorry about that. It's Suzania. I just want to quickly find out. Sorry for jumping. I'll just quick question. Is there a way to find out which agents are still linked to an agency because of the FFC being valid for 3 years, but if they leave prior to that renewal, we have no control of, they change the agencies or anything like that. So is there a way to?
Yes, you can check with our registrations department. They will check on the system and confirm if that FFC is still valid. They are under that firm, because I know that FFC doesn't particularly write where they belong to a firm, and also our portal, because it's being overhauled, you cannot go to the website to also check if it's valid. But Vukani, the registrations manager, I've seen him check. He can check for you. I will share the email address. Please see my email address. I pinned it. Maybe send me that question, then I can connect you. I can connect you with Vukani.
Awesome. Thank you, Naledi.
Okay, Antoinette.
Hi, Naledi. I just want to raise an issue that I had with payments to ABSA. I made a payment to ABSA, using the PPRA account number and, the beneficiary name. However, ABSA wouldn't accept that, that information. It diverted me to the EEAB account. And, I went to ABSA to try and sort this out because, it keeps on showing that I haven't paid. However, ABSA couldn't assist me, in terms of, to comply with the Papaya Act. They can't give me any information. Will the PPRA be able to assist me with this? Because, I need to register as, as a intern. And, I've tried this for so many months, and, this is delaying my my courses that I have to do and my exams. So I'm really, I'm quite desperate now.
Morandeni.
Yes, I think if you can come to PPRA or engage with PPRA, we can assist you.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
He's saying are you around Joburg? Maybe you can come to our offices. We sit with you and help.
I'm in Pretoria. Who can I?
Are you able to come?
Can I make an appointment?
No, it's just a walk-in, and there's consultants at the front desk. They will sit with you and go through your profile and help.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, let's go to meeting your back again. Let's try again. Okay, I think maybe it's your network meeting. Because I'm unable to see who's behind the username meeting. Let's go to Michelle.
Good morning.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Just to reiterate the problem I've had the past 3 weeks, I've been sending emails trying to get statements, obviously also getting a late payment, which you've explained now, but I've paid for my FFC twice now. Because they didn't pick it up. And I've sent proof of payments through numerous times. I'm still waiting. I've been to the PPRA twice in the past 2 weeks. My statement is not updated. It says I've only got a credit of 801 Rand. I actually have a credit of over 3,000 Rand. It seems like we're not getting the right statements. I've tried all avenues. I've tried 10 different emails. Is there someone specific that can assist?
Morendeni, in your department, who are you going to allocate to?
I think she can send the request directly to my email. I can also assist if the team is not available.
Can you still see Morendeni's email on the chat? Morendeni, put it again for those who joined later, that debt recovery email and your email address so they can reach you. Okay, let me see if I have another question. We're going to take the last hand from Kimberly.
Hi, good afternoon already. I just want to say thank you so much for the webinar. It's been very informative. I just have a quick question with relation to the PDE that's coming up soon. We've noted that there's a new franchise of the PPRA in Cape Town, and we were just wondering if the Cape Town branch is going to be able to provide candidates with PDE resource guides. Or study guides. So I know that at the moment it was purely from the office in Sandton, but we just want to know if the Cape Town franchise is also going to have them available.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Kimberly. Just hold on, there's someone speaking. Let me see. Sorry, colleagues.
No problem.
Donovan, I'm going to disable your mic. Yes, regarding the resource material, I think we're still doing it here in Johannesburg because you have to do your payment. And I know
Yes.
Busani in the cashier, they'll arrange courier for you for now. Well,
Okay.
because that office, I think it's few months now, they
Yeah,
were
it's
still
very
setting
new.
up, other
Yes.
things. But for now, I think they'll also announce sooner to say the Cape Town office now is offering these following services. But I'll bring it to the attention of the CEO as well, maybe to prioritize
Yeah, that would be
element.
lovely. Yeah, because we're very excited about the Cape Town franchise. I popped by and it's a beautiful building. So yeah, we're very excited about it, but we were just wondering if it would become available because some people in Cape Town sometimes struggle to get the courier service to come and deliver it on time. So we were just wondering if it would become available. But wonderful. Thank you so much. We'll keep an eye out on that.
Yes, and I also saw a comment saying Devon office. Now, currently, we don't have a satellite Devon in office in Devon, but they are working to look at other provinces. But I think also the corporate services division will work on that as well. Thank you, Kimberly.
That's amazing. Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate that.
Because yes, Morendeni, please also put your email address. I saw you posted the one for debt recovery. Colleagues, look at the emails on the chat. Even says, please, somebody has not muted. Sorry about that, colleagues. Let me see who's speaking.
Give it a chance, blah, 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 blah. So, and then I went and
Lerato Mayaka. Sorry, colleagues. Yes. Morendeni, okay, thank you so much for posting it. Ivan says, as PPRA have changed its name. Okay, I think I replied this one that the CFO is working on that one. Ivan, again, you also said, I can confirm that the PPRA has resolved all our queries quickly once we send it to one of their senior people. Okay, I'm glad that they were able to help because sometimes we have to escalate, colleagues, right? If you're not getting the help and you are frustrated, we will send it to their managers so that you can be helped. But also, I think we have to remember what Morendeni mentioned. If it's not a correct reference number, it's a bit of a challenge and it will cause a delay. And especially I've seen it in the registrations department. When somebody applies, they do not attach all the documents required by PPRA. It will be that back and forth to say, we need this, we need that. And you find that time as well, because we have a turnaround time. But if the documents are non-compliant, it takes longer. You see, so it also needs us practitioners to at least call or email them, what is it that I need before you send, and you send the correct documents. So you are, and also if you put the correct reference number, I think it's a 7-digit. If you look for a number that is a 7-digit, for obviously existing practitioners, they would have that 7-digit reference number. It's going to help them. Colleagues, we've come to the end of the webinar today. I want to thank everyone who joined the webinar and taking the opportunity to participate and engage and be with us today, because I know you have other appointments that you could have been to. And I think, you know, we saw the highlights coming from Kayleen on the fundamentals of FICA compliance and what Morendeni has spoken about regarding financial processes. You know, and as PPRA, we are committed to bring other topics. So next week, 8 October, we're going to have Advocate Deborah Weil and the Executive of Education. They're going to talk about CPD. I think those who had questions on CPD, please come join us. I'm going to post the link, in fact, is on Facebook and all the other social media. So register for that webinar. We're going to talk about CPD. And we're going to talk about the registration process, because I know that department, sometimes there can be a frustration. So they want to help you pick up what are the concerns, you know, and where we can fix. And some of the things you find that it's just information and awareness. Once we explain it and you have clarity, then it makes sense, you know, that you are able to move forward. And in the same day, we're going to have another webinar, you know, regarding the NQF 5, the level 5 with CETA and with the PPRA, just to explain the updated new qualifications. But look out for those flyers, those links. Follow us on social media so that you are able to get all the information. So the colleagues that you were asking about the slides and you were asking about the recorder, we are going to post it on our YouTube channel, PPRA TV, and we are going to share the slides. I'll email you the slides later from today, so that you can go through what Kayleen spoke about. So I want to, you know, go back to our speakers and say, Kayleen, thank you so much for the time. Morendeni, thank you so much. I know you probably have clients, Morendeni, waiting for you at the reception regarding the same issues of payments that you need to sit with and assist. We're going to call again, Kayleen. Maybe we do a second topic. We look at, you know, the other elements, what we can do in respect to compliance. So everyone who joined today on behalf of PPRA, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. My email is there. If you remember a question, send us the questions. We're still going to answer you even after the webinar. Goodbye, colleagues.
Bye, Naledi. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.